So, in this sequence of activities, students will be helping Blubot find his way home after a long day at school with instructions that his mother has given him. There are a certain number of obstacles before he can get home, which include dropping his books off at the library so they don't become overdue, and going to the corner store to get his afternoon tea treat. Students will be using their computational thinking skills in these 4 lessons to help Blubot complete all these tasks and make it home before dinner. My lesson is the first in the sequence of lessons that are being created, in which Blubot has to get from point A to point B. Point A is the school and point B is the library, which he has to return some books. Students will, as a class, have a refresher about directions and what they mean, as this was briefly touched on in Foundation Year in Geography. Students will also be deciphering said directions and assisting the teacher to program Blubot to get from A to B. The computational thinking skill I will be focusing on in my lesson is identifying patterns and what directions are and how to decipher them. It will help students to excel in their coding and computational thinking in other lessons, as they will have to create simple programs and will begin to understand what algorithms are and how they are implemented. There are interdisciplinary links in this lesson relating to the maths curriculum, as students will be learning to describe position, direction and movement, including whole, half, quarter and three-quarter turns.
During the second lesson, students will be learning decomposition. Students must identify 3 possible paths from the library to the corner store and break these paths down into a set of directions, which they learned in the previous lesson. Through this process, students are developing the ability to break down a complex problem into smaller parts, thus developing the computational thinking of decomposition. This lesson has links to maths in which students are learning about directional language. Students have the opportunity to work collaboratively in groups, allowing them to brainstorm and improve their ideas when solving a problem.
In this lesson, students are getting their Blubot to move from point B to C, so from the library to the corner shop, taking the shortest route to get there. This involves the skill of abstraction, meaning students must identify and extract relevant information to define the main idea, as well as computational thinking, so that the thought process involved is formulating a problem and expressing its solution. Students must identify why the way they choose was the shortest route and must measure the distance by counting how many squares the Blubot moves through. This lesson incorporates the key learning area of maths, as students need to measure how far the Blubot is moving.
Students will work on algorithmic thinking. At the start of the lesson, students have been introduced and engaged in an activity which pre-teaches these skills and understandings. Students revisit the computational thinking in previous lessons and connect those skills with the learning in the current scenario. Students split into groups and deconstruct the algorithmic scenario, reading out the problem and collaborating with their team to find a solution. Within this scenario, students must create an ordered list that demonstrates the algorithmic thinking that Blubot can use to check that he has completed all the tasks on the list before he can go home. Once students have created their list, students then must direct Blubot back home and describe the path that they used. Students then head back to their desks and share their lists and their learning with the class.